if you pay attention to the small things in life, in business, in your own relationship with your kids, wife, or whoever, if you pay attention to the small things that most people will never ever look at, you'll be so successful in everything you do.
Want to welcome my friend Chris Olexa to the show. He is the owner of several different franchises, including 9 different Buffalo Wings and Arby's, a Mellow Marshmallow franchise. Has been an entrepreneur in various different ways, and is a very special person. In 2020, he actually won the award for the spirit of franchising. Which is a very, very powerful accolade because, running restaurants, as we know, is very, very difficult. 95% of restaurants fail. And to have the successful business that, Chris has created and still be a great family man and all the other things are really commendable. So, Chris, thank you so much for being on the show today. And what's going on?
Man, I'm glad to be here, man. Thank you so much. Now, just out here running restaurants, building more as we can and growing as fast as we can. Just have a little signed a deal here recently with Starbucks, brought that to our company too. So we're excited about that, but a lot of good things happening over here.
I'll tell you, so, the purpose, the reason that we made this podcast, is to really discuss. So my book comes out on July 12th called The Gift of Failure. Okay. And what I've really always been interested in, for many, many years is the relationship between failure and success. And what does that really mean? And, to be a restaurateur and going through COVID and all the things that happened there, can you walk me through, some failures that you've experienced being an entrepreneur that maybe led to something great, maybe it didn't, but what are some of the failures that still kind of haunt you, and is there a silver lining to them, and what's that relationship between failure and success? And just kind of talk to me about that.
Yeah, I guess, man, in my life, man, where I came from, failure was all around me, man. Again, kind of same thing you came through, but my mom and dad actually divorced when I was a young kid, and I grew up with my mother, and not the best situation at all, man. My mom was an alcoholic, and, I saw the bad of that, man, but I learned really quickly to use that as momentum for myself and use that as I always said, as a rocket ship, because I never wanted to live that life. So I always kind of tell people through it work for me in my company. It's like, stop focusing on the wins, man. Focus on the losses and use that as momentum to help you push through things.
I love that. Say that again. So say, don't focus on the wins, focus on the losses. Man. And why is that to you? Why would you focus on the loss? I know why I do it, but why do you do it?
Why do I do that, man? It's like, I'm analytical person, man. I look at it as like a football game. If you're out winning games every day, you're celebrating, thinking of the next game. But if you're losing a game, you go back and look and watch the film why you lost. You go back, we made a bunch of bad plays there. So I always kind of look at that, man, and use that as momentum, man, because a long time ago, one of the things that pushed me too, that taught me that, man, I was in a principal's office and I wasn't the best student at all, man. I didn't go to college. I wasn't a book type, but I remember going in the principal's office one time and sitting at a conference table, and I looked on the white erase board up here, and my name was on there, and it was like 50 kids' names are on there. And I asked my principal, I said, "Hey, man, why's my name up there?" And he said, "That's the dropout list." So dropout list, I said, "You think I'm going to drop out?" He's like, "Probably." And at that point, I knew they were judging me for losses that other people my mother had did, judging me for my school pass. I thought, man, you just lit a fire underneath, man. I said, watch this. And I wouldn't graduate. It's funny, as that principal still sees me today and I don't get it. I don't know how you did it. I said, yep, I proved you wrong. So at that point in my life, man, I just always use that as a challenge, man. Something happens in my life, I use it as a positive. Some people today out there try to use negatives as, poor pitiful me, this happened to me. I'm like, no, poor pitiful me, I'm glad it happened to me, because all it does is prove to me, watch, I'm going to show a lot of people wrong. So when I focus on the loss, our teams, we focus on the losses, go back and watch the game film. What did we do wrong? Let's not ever let that happen again. As a young entrepreneur, you could probably vouch for this. We've made a lot of mistakes in our companies building this. We've lost hundreds of thousands of dollars and making mistakes we shouldn't. But I go back and look at it. That's how we made a mistake. I'm glad we made a mistake because we'll never make that mistake again. So yeah, that's what I kind of look at that, man. I take my losses and I use them as not as a crutch, man, as a rocket ship to get me where I want to get.
I love it, and for me, it's the way that I kind of think about it is when you look at the loss or failure or whatever synonym you want to use, right?
Mm,
It takes honest introspection to look back into that. But by the way, most people do not do that. The vast majority of people don't, and the reason why I think is that it's too uncomfortable.
that's right.
Like it hurts too much, right?
Mhm.
But again, that goes back to this instant gratification, kind of world that we live in. It's just, now, little quick little clips or, fast food and, slow digestion and whatever, however you want to phase it, right?
That's
But going back, like, because success really didn't teach me anything, and I think I've been a, relatively successful guy in my life, as you know, and,
yeah,
but again, if success taught me anything, taught me to maybe be a little more arrogant
yeah,
at times, or
yeah.
maybe think that I got something right or I did whatever. Everything that I actually learned was when there was a failure.
That's right.
Like actual learning, as you said, whether back looking at films and looking at all those, different things. But, what would you consider like the biggest failure of your life? And did it turn into a blessing years later? But like, what is the first thing that comes to your mind? I call it like a haunting. Like, what is like a thing that you really fucked up that you can look back on that maybe turned into something great? Maybe it didn't, but you definitely learned something. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, I kind of when I got asked to do this, and I kind of get asked this a lot, man. Where we go, people say, "Man, how did you get where you got, and how did you push so hard through the diversity of things?" And I said, "Man, I guess I never really focused on a true failure, man. I've made a lot of failures. I've made a lot of choices with the company of going a different direction that we shouldn't go, or hire the wrong person, or the wrong leader, and but I guess sometimes I might have said, okay, I should have taken a right or left, and I took a right, and I should have taken a left. And I don't look at it truly as failures because I hate that word, man. I hate the word failure, or
Me too.
I just can't stand when people say you failed at something. No, it's a learning process to me. It's just like, yeah, I got my hand slapped a little bit or my butt slapped a little bit. But I think that and I'll use this. We brought this up like COVID, right? So in our business, COVID was a lot of companies failed at that. And when we went in that state when COVID happened, at the very first minute that happened, I was kind of like, oh shit. They're going to shut down our restaurants, and I owe a lot of people, I owe a lot of rent, a lot of mortgages. I have 1,000 employees that work for us, and I went in that thing. But immediately, my mindset went to like, okay, so how can we win at this? How can we come and win? And I remember coming in our conference room the next day, and all of our leaders sat around the conference room. And a lot of these guys have mortgages, brand new houses to pay. These guys are making six figures. And it's like, they're looking at me like, I'm about to get laid off. And I was like, hey guys, you ever watch Apollo 13? And they're like, looked at me like, what the heck is he about to say? I said, remember that part where they threw the crap and said, we're going to figure this shit out? That's what we're about to do. We're going to figure this shit out. We're going to win at this, because there's a lot of other concepts or restaurants or franchisees, entrepreneurs who are going to be in an oh crap moment, and they're going to be like, what do we do? But you know what? We're going to be the bull in the room. And that's something I always use too, man.
And did you do that? Out
We
of curiosity?
did. We did, man. We went down and we thought, okay, we're going to do takeout only. So how do we own the takeout area in our areas? So we're going to be obnoxious about takeout. We're going to be obnoxious about everything we do. So the day we went to takeout, all of our restaurants were not losing one penny, but they weren't making any money because we structured ourselves. Now, I didn't lay off one person that did not want to be laid off. I laid off myself, took my salary off really quickly, but I kept these guys because I knew they need to pay their money, and I'd figure mine out. But no, and that's what we did. We were the bull in the room. We were calling banks. We were calling concepts like, hey, if this store closed down, I want that store for an Arby's, because I knew these landlords were going to be struggling too, and found ways to like like they're going to be lowering their rent because they're going to want somebody else in there. So that's how we do it. And that was a failure. That could have been a huge failure for my company. But immediately my mindset always goes to like, how do I take advantage of this? How do I take advantage of me making a wrong decision in the company? Or, how can I make this win for me? So that's kind of how it went with COVID. I just like, hey, let's lock it down. Let's figure out how we do it. Let's do it the best and anybody can do it and move forward. Until this day, banks, our financial companies, franchisors come to me like, dude, y'all killed it. And I said, yeah, we did. I'm proud of that.
Well, it was because you looked at what someone would see as a failure and as something that was a negative, and you looked at it from the right vantage point and you turned it into your favor. But is that a mindset issue? So let me ask you a question. Like, what does success mean to you then? So people, and again, I hate the word failure too. And then one of the reasons I wrote the book was to kind of change what that meaning of that word is. And I have a very strong opinion about the relationship between success and failure. But what do you think the relationship is between success and failure, or is there a relationship between them?
I don't know. I don't really try to make a relationship. I'm sure there is. Somebody's going to come up with something very
No, what do
smart.
you think? It doesn't matter what, there's no right. I mean, just in your mind, when I say success and failure, do they have a relationship? And if they don't, why don't they? Or if they do, why do they?
Yeah, I'll say this. In my mindset, failure is not an option. That is 100% not an option for me. Success in my mind is me proving the world wrong. And I think you've done that too. What you came, how you set your company, what you've done is proving the whole world wrong to show them that the narrative of what a person like me was supposed to be like is not what I'm going to be like. So I use that as success. You asked one too, is what success in my life is to prove to people that a person with no college degree, man, I was graduated like in the last 10% of my class. I actually graduated a year late, man. And I'm proving to everybody that you don't have to have this great college education. You just have to have a work ethic and understand. That's why I guess I'm a little different. Being positive, negative, failure, success, they're all kind of relate to me a little bit in some part, but I don't look into either of them like there's something I'm gonna put a trophy on the wall. A trophy on the wall to me is to prove my principle, to prove everybody out there that says, well, you didn't go to college, you didn't get a business degree. How do you do what you do? You get a finance degree. How did you do? Well, you know what? I'm gonna prove you all wrong. That's huge success. Success for me also too is to change other people's life, that I could bring other people along this road with me and carry that on. I want to say this too, and I want to go back, man. And you asked what the biggest failure was in one of my things, and I should have hit this on. I don't know if you know this about me. It's been 12 years ago. I just started the company. I was 4 stores deep into my growing as Buffalo Wild Wings. I worked every day. And my kids were growing up. My wife stopped me and said, hey, you need to slow down a little bit. You just work all day and all night. You watch cameras, you look at sales. And she said, you need to figure this out because you're spending too much time at work. And God changed my life that time, because 2 months later, I was diagnosed with cancer. And it was a shock, man. It was like, what? I had this knot in my neck, went to the doctors, kept telling something's wrong with me. And they said, no, nothing's wrong with me. 6 months later, MD Anderson said I had follicular lymphoma, and I had it pretty much all over. And the prognosis was, and this is probably going to answer one of your other questions too, that you just asked, is success and failure too. Doctor came in, said, you got follicular lymphoma, you have it all over. We think we can fix you, but it's not if, it's when it's going to come back. And it's probably going to come back in two years. And if it does, it's going to be, I said, stop. I don't want statistics. Don't tell me that. People always say that about me, that I'm probably going to be a failure. I said, I'm just going to prove all to you, man. There's nothing wrong with me. And I went home. My wife bawled all night. And I told her, I said, at that point, don't ever treat me any differently. I said, I'm going through this cancer. I went through tons of chemo, man. Just went through all the things, went to work every day. Every day I went to work because I had to prove to people that there's nothing wrong with me. And man, I'm 12 years clean for cancer. I go every year to the hospital, get checked out, and I'll have to go the rest of my life. My doctor says, dude, I don't know how you did it, I don't know what you've done differently, but you're in that really small percentile. I said, see, I told you, don't ever tell me statistics. I don't play in that realm. So when you talk about success and failure, that could have been a huge failure to me. I could have ducked my head, went down and cried all day, tried to sell the
But
company.
but but my question is, so maybe the other way is, which is astonishing what you did, especially at such a young age. I mean, you're in your 40s, but that is turning what the doctor was calling a failure or a problem into this. And it seems like the way you're talking, that actually jet fueled you
Oh,
to say, not only am I going to kick this cancer's ass, which you did, but I'm also going to continue construction. I'm not going to miss work. And do you think some of that fire and passion that came with somebody telling you statistically, God knows what they said, that I'm sure it wasn't good, that what the prognosis was, to get you where you are today? Do
oh,
you think part of that was the jet fuel?
100%, man. I remember going to an opening we had at Buffalo Wild Wings. And when you do an opening at a new restaurant, it's crazy, lines out the door. And the training team was like, oh my God, Chris is here. I was bald headed at the time, big chemo bag on me. And they were like, you're really going to work here? I said, yes, I'm going to work here, dude. This is my store. It's my baby. Man, I'm going to be here. And they still tell stories about that at some of our conventions because I'd work a couple hours. I'd go sleep in the back of my truck because I was so tired. Come work. Because, man, that was a jet fuel to me because I was going to prove not only my doctors wrong, I was going to prove the world wrong because statistics isn't what you should float into. And now my story is when I see a friend or a friend of a friend or somebody that I might be could touch that has cancer, and I say, hey man, you got to have a mindset that just fake yourself out, be it a visionary, go out and look at yourself not being sick and conquer this and take it on head on because you could sit here and cry about your failures. You could sit here and cry about it and just ask for like, please feel sorry for me. Or you can, man, this world's tough, man. You know it, right? It's tough. Nothing's given to you in life, man. You got to earn it and you got to earn the respect of everybody out there. And you got to earn the respect of yourself. And how you do it is put jet fuel in your packet and take off and use those failures as truly the failures in my life are truly some of the most successful stories that's pushed me to, man.
I love that so much. This is phenomenal. And our listeners, I know, are going to absolutely love this.
Yeah.
There's one question that I ask all of our guests at the end, and it's pretty simple. But if there is one thing that you wish everybody on Earth knew, just one thing that you wish everybody on the planet knew, what would it be?
One thing, and this is kind of my motto, man, is if you pay attention to the small things in life, in business, in your own relationship with your kids, wife, or whoever, if you pay attention to the small things that most people will never ever look at, you'll be so successful in everything you do. Because a lot of people pass up the little things, man. They're always looking at the big things. They're always wanting the big catch, man. But if you pay attention to the small things that most entrepreneurs, anybody, counselors are trying to counsel in your relationship, if you pay attention to those small things that most nobody ever noticed, dude, you'll own the world, man. I'm telling you.
Chris, thank you so much. There's a tremendous
Man,
amount of wisdom there. Look forward to seeing you in person. I'm going to be down your way very soon, and we're going to get together and talk about some other stuff offline as well. But God bless you
God
and your
bless you,
family,
man.
and keep kicking fucking ass because I know there's no stopping you. I see,
No.
that there's 9 Buffalo Wild Wings, but it's going to be 900. When next time we talk here, the next the next couple years.
You know it, brother. I appreciate you, man. Appreciate you.
I'll talk to you in a bit, brother.
Thank
God
you,
bless
man.
you.
All right,
You
man.
got
Bye.
it. Bye.